Okay, so today we're going to replace this tire coupler. Okay, this is on any tire brush that's hydraulic. So at locations 1 through 6, that's going to be on just your normal tire or tire rocker combo. At location 7, that'll be on your tire shine and your tire brush, okay? So this is the hardware for it, just a basic Sonny's hardware kit, okay? So this is what we're going to use to replace it. We don't know if it's going to need a new key stock or not. We got key stock here, okay? These are just key stock sticks, so we can just cut the length that we need. Much cheaper, much easier than getting key stock from the book. Okay, this is what the only supplies you're going to need is a 3/4 socket wrench with a 3/4 combo, and a 9/16 socket wrench with a 9/16 combo, okay? That's all you're gonna need right here. Okay, so this is the tire brush coupler we're gonna replace. So when you're doing this, obviously you need to be careful. You need to be careful of the cars coming through if we do it with cars, and also of the brush right here. You don't want to get caught up in that. Loosen the motor first. You should be able to pop the whole thing off. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to loosen that 3/4 bolt right there, okay? Because usually if it's stripped coupler, it's going to slide right off anyways, okay? So Clay is going to go ahead and loosen that off right now. He also needs to be careful with this car that's coming. So, show me the inside. So basically, these things just completely, wear themselves out. So this is completely worn out. Hopefully the shaft isn't, or else it's going to be a shaft swap as well. It is. So this shaft is completely worn out. So now we're going to just have to do a shaft swap. This can only be done at close, okay? And it's going to have to be this entire shaft. If you're going to do the shaft, you might as well do the bearing as well. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so we're back on this tire brush coupler and shaft. Clay is taking out these 3/4 bolts. So the top one's going to be fairly easy. That one's going to be an easy one to take off. Maybe it's 19. And then the bottom one right here is going to be harder to take off, but that's why he's going to use a extension. Now there's another way you can do it. You can stick the wrench underneath it. It is kind of complicated though, doing it that way, but it is a way that is possible as well. That's how I usually do it. So he's going to take this off. After we get this off, we're going to have to, I'm going to hold this brush up, and we're going to take off the other spindles, or the other bolts. Yeah, I'm going to stick a strap around it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick a strap around it, and I'm going to hold it up, and then once he takes that out, I'm going to let it rest, because it'll rest on the shaft. So we took that out. I just held it up with this piece of rope right here, doubled it over. Okay, so now we're going to take these bolts out right here. Those bolts are going to be 9/16 bolts. So he'll get a 9/16 wrench and he'll work on that. Now you can use the ratcheting side, but you need to be careful not to get your wrench stuck because it's going to be pretty close to the bearing. So okay, so we were able to get the old shaft out. 2 of the bolts were stripped, so we actually ended up using a couple pairs of channel locks to get those out. We replaced them with some longer bolts actually, but it was fine. They threaded all the way in. Okay, so now we're just going to get the bearing on there. So getting the bearing on is pretty simple in itself. You're just going to need an Allen wrench for the little set screw in there, but getting the bearing bolted on, you're just going to have somebody lift the brush up for you while you do it, and then thread it in by hand at first, and then finish it off with the wrench. It's the best and easiest way to do it, and it's really the only way. So that's what we're gonna do right now. Clay's spraying some PB Blaster on the bolts just to get them, get the debris out of it and whatnot. And then we're gonna slide this this bearing on there, and we should be pretty good. So we got these bolts on right here. Alright, it wasn't too hard as you saw. Clay just lifted this up and I just worked them in by hand at first to make sure that I wouldn't strip them, and then I went ahead and tightened them up. You don't want to tighten them too much or else you can end up stripping the threads inside the actual bearing. So make sure that you have your lock washer and make sure not to over tighten it. So now the next part is we're just going to take the coupler off the old hydraulic motor.
Set these.
Take the coupler off the old hydraulic motor and put the new one on, and it should be good to go. And like Clay just said, we're going to set these set screws as well. Make sure to do that. Okay, so we went ahead, took that old coupler off. It was kind of stubborn, so what I had to do was undo the bolts, hit it with a hammer, stuck a screwdriver in it, came right out. We went ahead, stuck a new key stock in here, put the coupler on. It just needs to be tightened now, and then it'll be good to go. So Clay's getting a new washer for this part right here, the nut that holds the motor up, and then we're going to tighten this coupler on and it'll be good to go. This is what a brand new one will look like, nice and good. This is what one looks like after it's been on for a little bit. But same thing, hopefully we don't have to change it. Make sure when you put this on you're not favoring one side on the coupler. So you can see that I got a little bit of a gap here and a little bit of a gap there. So we're using the 2 key stocks perfectly. We're not favoring one side or the other, so hopefully it won't slip off. When you tighten this bolt, you want to get it pretty much, let's say 97% tight. There can be a little bit of play in there, and that's what Sonny's prefers, but we don't want too much play or else that's how these couplers go out. So make sure that it's pretty tight. But that's it. That's pretty much the whole install. As you see, we got a new washer on there. Tightening this up. Tighten up the coupler. Once that's done, it'll run. And I'll go ahead and show you guys that running. But it's pretty simple stuff. Okay, this is a finished product. It's all good. It'll turn once we turn it on. And last step would be to just put a couple pumps of grease in that new bearing. Make sure that it's greased up good. Check your motor, make sure there's no wiggle in it, everything like that. But should be good. Cool.